It's Thanksgiving. Yet Carrie Pilby, a 19-year-old genius, has nothing to be grateful for. Actually, she chooses not to see anything to be happy about, and that's an issue she battles with her therapist, Dr. Petrov, who also happens to be her dad's friend. Carrie grew up in London but left when she was 12 because her mother died, skipped 3 grades in high school, and got into Harvard at the age of 14. As she walks into Dr. Petrov's office during Thanksgiving, Carrie complains about the fact that her dad, who is always absent as usual, will not be coming home for Thanksgiving. Dr. Petrov dives into the business of the day by asking her what she spent her week doing, and Carrie doesn't surprise him when she says she spent the week reading 17 books. So, Dr. Petrov asks Carrie to come up with a list of fun things to do before the end of the year by their next meeting. He wants her to give humanity a chance because Carrie doesn't have any relationships, no friends, no relationships. One evening, she calls out a guy named Cyrus who is playing a didgeridoo loudly, and as soon as she shuts her window, she gets a call from her dad. He apologizes because he won't be able to make it but promises to make it home for Christmas. Then, he tells her about a job he was able to secure for her at a legal firm. Carrie's job would be to proofread legal briefs, and she agrees to this when he gives her no other good options. When she arrives at the office, it's really lonely and quiet until a really weird guy welcomes her and briefs her terribly about her job. Lucky for her, Tara comes to the rescue and apologizes for not getting to meet her first. During another meeting with Dr. Petrov, she tells him she spent her holiday working at the legal firm. He asks about the list, but Carrie pretends not to remember at first, then gives excuses. So, Dr. Petrov hands her a list her prepared for her, which includes getting a pet, giving in to a childhood indulgence, and lots more that don't please Carrie. She recalls a romantic experience she had in college. During an English class she attended, she met Professor Harrison, who was an interesting teacher. He was interested in the book he met her reading when he came inside, and that drew his attention to her, so he made her talk about herself. Carrie talked about the death of her mom and ultimately landed at the fact that she went to Harvard and skipped some grades because she is intelligent. The next time she meets Petrov, he asks her to prove he is wrong by actually doing the things on the list and proving that it doesn't make anyone happy. The genius Pilby decides to obey Petrov and buys 2 pet fish, Catherine and Spencer. But, instead of having a cool conversation, Cyrus, who plays the didgeridoo again loudly, and Tick making a new friend off the list. Their conversation doesn't end well when he invites her to play the instrument so she can relax. Carrie is annoyed by this. Although it turns out Cyrus, Cy for short, isn't homeless and is the roommate of her neighbor, Ted. At work the next day, she engages in a conversation with Tara and the weird guy. They find out she went to Harvard and are amazed at how smart she is. They both refuse to believe Carrie doesn't have any boyfriend and is not in a relationship. During her college days, Carrie had met with Professor Harrison, who invited her out in a restaurant. He also schooled at Harvard, so he understood how she felt about people's reaction to those who went to school there. He complimented her face when the drink stained her lips red. Carrie meets Petrov again and talks about how there are brilliant people who are unhappy. She believes she is actually a brilliant, happy person. Petrov tells her she is lying to herself and she should allow people get to know her. Carrie talks about sex and claims people are obsessed with it, but Petrov tries to change her views on it. So, she checks for eligible dates on a newspaper and meets an intriguing description by a guy called Matt who says he is about to get married and needs to be sure before he marries. Carrie calls him with the intent of going on a date with him and at the same time exposing him to his fiancée when she finds out who the fiancé is. They fix a date. As she heads out, she meets Cy at the door and he apologizes for saying she wasn't relaxed the other day and invites her for dinner. Carrie is really cold to him. When Carrie meets Matt, they have a beautiful connection because he is a graduate of MIT. After a long talk and getting along, she reveals her initial intentions of exposing his cheating dates. Matt's wedding is in February, but he feels something is missing between him and his fiancée, who is his childhood sweetheart. Carrie walks away because Matt turned out to be an amazing guy. At work, she discusses this with Tara, who encourages her to call Matt irrespective of the fact that he is engaged. Tara believes that if Carrie and Matt like each other, there is no problem. Later, when Carrie accompanies Tara to a bar, Tara tells her that ladies need to make themselves look better than they really are in the initial stage of meeting a guy, and still asks her to call Matt. Carrie gets into a cab and heads to Matt's place. In the cab, she recalls how she was hanging out with Professor Harrison and they had actually made out. But then, she suddenly spots Petrov kissing a married woman outside the woman's house and realizes he is cheating. She calls her dad to report this, but a woman called Fliss answers her dad's call. To her displeasure, she finds out her dad will be getting married to Fliss, who already has children, and instead of coming to New York for Christmas, her dad plans on booking her ticket to London so she meets Fliss. Carrie is totally not pleased and expresses this. Finally, Carrie reaches out to Matt and meets him in his house. He is happy she reached out, and his fiancée is a way to meet someone. As they talk, they start making out on a sofa in the sitting room. But Carrie spots a picture of Matt with his fiancée and refuses to have sex with Matt. She asks him to end his relationship with his fiancée if he is not sure and he likes her instead. Matt admits that he likes her but isn't sure about ending things with his fiancée. Carrie walks away. Outside, she remembers how Harrison had become angry at her in bed because he wanted her to say some words she considered disrespectful during sex. It had ended badly between them. Carrie goes to her windows when she gets home and screams. This draws Sai's attention and he comes to check on her. He invites her for a walk which she takes and they get to know each other. Sai knows how to play a host of instruments and currently plays for the New York Philharmonica. They talk about Ted, Sai's job and their parents. Sai is caring and even offers his coat when he notices she is cold. Carrie discovers a book with Sai and remembers she had left one of her favorite books with Professor Harrison. She asks to return the coat the next day and leaves Sai to call Harrison. But, Professor is indifferent and rude and tells her he will return her book if he sees it. This really annoys her because she had given Harrison that book out of love. It's Christmas Day and Carrie spends Christmas alone. Still frustrated, Carrie heads to Dr. Petrov's house the next morning. She tells him she knows about his affair. And tells him that the list isn't working. She believes she doesn't have to do disrespectful things to be happy, like sleeping with her English professor. Just then, her father comes to the door and is surprised to hear she slept with her professor. Carrie isn't pleased to see him and walks away angry. Apparently, he had come to New York since she didn't want to go to London and Carrie had stated that she hated him, not London. After walking around the city, she meets her dad in one of their known places in the city. Carrie is surprised to see he was there. He says that he wants her to like Fliss and that he felt he disappointed Carrie's mother when the woman was sick. As a result, he felt that Carrie would be better off learning from others. He inquires about her English teacher and wants to sue, but Carrie states that she only wants her favorite book back. So, together they head to Professor Harrison's house. He is married now and is surprised to see them. When Carrie asks about her book, he says he will check for it later and send it via mail, but Carrie's father asks him not to bother. They get into the house and head to the library to look for the book themselves. They find it, but before they leave, Carrie's father punches Harrison hard in the face for disrespecting his daughter by withholding her book. Outside, Carrie is happy and tells her dad she missed him. The next day, she goes to meet Dr. Petrov and is sorry for how she spoke to him the other day. They talk about the woman Petrov is cheating with, who takes care of abused children and has an unaffectionate husband. Carrie calls his reason for cheating excuses and gets the list he made for her back. Petrov had kept it just in case and Carrie wants to push through with the things on the list. It's New Year and Carrie attends Tara's New Year's party. One thing on her list is off because she has made a friend. When she returns from the party, she realizes she hadn't met Sai, so she heads to his house. Sai had just returned from a performance. Again, just like before, she remembers she has something to do and quickly dashes home to do it. It turns out she has completed everything on the list. Sai, the charming guy, appears at her window and draws her out through the window to watch the fireworks together. And Carrie Pilby is in his arms as they watch it. Thanks for watching. Check out this movie here. And don't forget to subscribe and to turn on the notification bell.